Rajang!
I'm not looking at you.
Rajang!
What?
I bet I could kill you.
Oh yeah? Well, I bet I could kill you.
Oh yeah, well I bet you couldn't.
This is why you're a brood wyvern, isn't it?
You know it, tiny monkey man.
What? No one calls Rajang a man!
What?
No! Ladies, gentlemen, and monsters of all ages, excluding the ones that are the subject of today's video, today I have something extra special for you all. Since Monster Hunter World came out, monsters have always been capable of dealing small amounts of damage to each other, hidden in the background, little numbers that don't pop up. But with Iceborne, we had the return of Savage Deviljho, the eater of, well, everything except vegetables.
Aren't vegetables still just gross, tasteless rabbit food?
Yeah, why should I eat like a rabbit? I'm not a rabbit.
A creature capable of dealing chunks of 500 damage to a monster at a time, frequently and visibly to the hunter. Savage Deviljho also has some interesting mechanics where he causes other monsters to flee, and in fact he will often choose monsters as his target instead of hunters if they are in the same zone. With the first DLC drop of Iceborne, to the game came an absolutely beloved fan favorite, Rajang. Rajang also eats everything, including his vegetables. And as such, Rajang is also capable of dealing frequent, visible damage to other monsters, and with his little punches being worth 100 damage each, and his big electric boogie slam dealing 500 damage by itself, if we were normal people, maybe we would just be happy to know this, but we aren't normal. So today we answer the age-old question, who would win in a straight-up fight, Savage Deviljho or Rajang? Now, I'll have the hunt playing in the background so you can see exactly what is up, but I'd like to start by explaining my thought process first and the choices made to make this even physically possible. First off, investigation with both Rajang and Savage Deviljho, easy peasy. Second up is how to keep them together for however long it takes to kill each other. Little tidbits of information here, because monsters are just innately programmed to run from both Rajang and Deviljho. Once in a while, even while both monsters are enraged, they will just straight up separate from each other for no reason. Sometimes even when apparently one stone from death. Though they leave with far less frequency than any other monster caught in the zone. There was a Tigrex on this quest who literally existed for no other purpose than making my life harder and running away. But for the most part, the process of keeping the two monsters together is just done by bringing whichever of the two is enraged towards the other, with a bit of a backup in place as well. Challenger Mantle is available in this build for bringing monsters together, however its main purpose is slightly different, and for that I need to show you the build that I used. Nothing hugely fancy or specific, this is just a purely defensive lance build created around guarding and surviving, while also having high tool specialists for more available mantles and tools. So the main plan going into this is to get monsters in the same zone, then sit underneath them guarding with Challenger Mantle on. However, even when you are receiving little to no chip damage, the Challenger will eventually fall off, so really that just gives a small amount of extra time where both monsters dogpile on the same spot for, you know, extra fun. When Challenger Mantle is offline, the entire plan is to just sit with my shield out between the monsters, trying to get them to attack each other as much as possible while I personally deal no damage to either one. I have my Palico here on Vigor Wasp for survival, but if you actually look at him, you'll notice he is in low rank leather armor with basic low rank shovel weapons, so he has minimum impact on the outcome of the hunt. I mean, he's not even really attacking them at any point.
What else is new?
Now that we're all set up and ready to go, we have our plan and our set, it's time to talk about what of course actually happened when I was doing these. So prepare your ear holes for a story of legendary proportions. The first 10 to 15 minutes of the hunt was pretty standard. The two monsters beating on each other, trading blows, but most of the time not a whole lot of reaction from either one. It feels pretty even up to this point, really. It's a cool fight though. I mean, you guys are watching it, and when they're in the same zone, they do a ton of flinching each other and even occasionally knocking each other over, sometimes in cooler ways than others. But inevitably, we hit the 25 to 30 minute mark and the Savage Deviljho limps away off to sleep. Rajang obviously is a smart-ass mammal and totally chooses to follow him for a free wake-up hit, by which I mean he is a dumb monkey who instead decides to go have a snack. An impressive snack, sure, don't get me wrong, but a snack nonetheless. Regardless, though, in the hunts where Rajang didn't go for a snack, he still sort of scuffed up the wake-up hit, as monsters appear to be a lot like greatsword users.
Oh my god! He got it from... Oh my god!
And of course, after a bit more fighting, it was Rajang's turn to limp off, and Savage Deviljho is more than happy to follow and chase him down. I don't really know if this makes him more or less bloodthirsty than Rajang. After all, he is chasing down his target, but Rajang did just smack 4 Gastrodon to death, so, you know, I think that is a subjective call on that one. Deviljho sometimes does manage to actually hit some sort of wake-up hit, but not usually any of his powerful attacks, and more often than not, he just sort of walks into Rajang, so, you know, smart, powerful creatures and all of that. When both monsters are at lower health is actually when the fight actually gets really enticing to watch, because the cumulative damage starts to build up, and sometimes the monsters will break each other's parts, with Savage Deviljho very consistently breaking one of Rajang's arms and at least one of his horns, and Rajang just sort of, I don't know, spreading his damage out evenly. He didn't get part breaks very often.
Sorry, sir. Doing my best.
But they start flinching each other, knocking each other down super frequently every time they hit a decent attack, and just generally thrashing each other around, and the fight honestly just feels so much more epic at this point, so that's neat. So here we are, 40 minutes in, the monster's still going at it full blast, the expectations still hitting as we get deeper into the fight. It keeps getting more cinematic, more flinches, more part breaks, except for one thing. They're leaving the zones more often, trying to separate from each other and get away from each other. Almost like they're suddenly more scared of one another for some reason, suddenly 40 minutes into the hunt. However, Challenger Mantle prevails and we can put them back in the same zone, though we do have to recollect them a bit more often than before. And then finally, 45 minutes into the hunt, well, I mean, I'll let you watch it. Okay, so the official results of this experiment are Savage Deviljho and Rajang are incapable of killing each other, or more specifically, they are incapable of landing the final blow. Remember the stone kill on Savage I showed you earlier? Yeah, this one? Yeah, this is consistent.
Oh, thanks, Freddy. Foreshadowing.
These monsters simply have no abilities capable of straight up murdering each other, so the final blow always has to come from an outside source. So the official answer is there's no winner. These monsters could fight endlessly for all eternity while the world rises and falls around them. The unofficial answer, however, if we look back, Savage Deviljho consistently was the monster to limp first at 25 to 30 minutes. So technically speaking, we could say if the hunt continues as it began, Savage Deviljho is very likely the monster to die first at around 40 minutes into the hunt. In my opinion, the greatest factors of this are probably Savage Deviljho's thunder weakness, as even though the numbers don't show up, the lightning-based attacks do still chip away at Savage Deviljho. And then secondarily, the size difference. Rajang is tiny, and Deviljho's hits, considering his size, are relatively precise, so he misses a lot. Deviljho, however, is massive, and Rajang does tons of area of effect attacks, meaning that Rajang simply has an easier time of hitting Savage Deviljho than the other way around. So there you have it, the actual result of a fight between Savage Deviljho and Rajang. Sure, it's not fair that Rajang isn't furious, but he still totally holds his own, and if you accept my extrapolation of the events, he might even be the overall winner. However, if no outside damage is dealt to either monster, their fight is infinite, and their battle everlasting. Alright everyone, this has been Rajang versus Savage Deviljho. Did you enjoy this style of video? Who do you think would win this fight without game mechanic limitations? Like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe and hit the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet. This is the brand new outro to tell you all the things that you do that we love, so let's start with something simple and say, oh, we love your eyes. When they're watching us play video games, when we make a bunch of jokes that are kinda lame, or when they gaze upon our failures as we try to kill the monsters or report important news about the Kingdom Animalia. Rage, Continent, Hollow, we're all here, talking about the things you want to hear. So if you want to be the first to hear, like and subscribe and the bell and we'll cheer. Some of you are patrons, even though we are all the noobs and you're the pros. There's nothing we can do to thank you. No, really, there's nothing we could possibly do. Goodbye.